Nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever retired comfortably because they gave up their morning coffee. I need you to actually hear that, because somewhere out there is a finance guru in a rented Lamborghini wagging his finger telling you that your $5 latte is the reason you can't retire. And that is, scientifically speaking, a load of garbage. If skipping coffee fixed your retirement, every barista in America would own a beach house. The truth is way less cute and way more useful. Retiring in comfort isn't built on 100 tiny no's to things you love. It's built on a handful of big, slightly uncomfortable yeses to things most people are too scared to do. Real sacrifices, the kind that don't fit on a motivational poster. So today, I'm giving you the 7 sacrifices that actually move the needle, and I promise you, not a single one of them is stop buying avocado toast. Quick thing before we start. When I say retire in comfort, I'm not talking about retiring on a yacht named Tax Haven. I'm talking about the realistic dream. You stop working because you want to, not because your body filed a complaint. You can cover your bills, take the trip, help the kid, fix the roof, and not feel a cold sweat every time the market sneezes. That kind of comfort has a price, and the price isn't paid in pennies, it's paid in sacrifices that most people quietly refuse to make, then spend their 60s wondering what happened. Let's go. Sacrifice number 1, your zip code's ego. Here's a sacrifice nobody talks about. Living somewhere because it's correct instead of because it's expensive and impressive. A huge chunk of America is paying a premium to live in a specific zip code for reasons that have nothing to do with their actual life. It's identity. It's the school district you brag about at parties. It's being able to say, oh, we're over by the good Whole Foods. Congratulations. You are paying $400 extra a month for the privilege of standing next to organic kale. I'm not saying move to the middle of nowhere and start a relationship with a raccoon. I'm saying the difference between 2 towns that are 25-minute drive apart can be $100,000 on the same house and $400 a month in rent. Same job, same friends, same you, just minus the zip code flex. And the sacrifice here is real because this one stings the ego. You have to be okay with your address not doing the talking for you. You have to be okay with somebody hearing where you live and going, oh, that's nice, in the tone people use for a haircut they don't like. But run the math on it. $400 a month invested at a reasonable return for 30 years. That's not a rounding error. That's a second retirement account that exists purely because you decided your self-worth doesn't live in a property listing. Swallow the ego, keep the $400. Future you doesn't care what the neighbors thought. Speaking of people whose opinions are quietly bankrupting you, sacrifice number 2, being the family ATM. This is the one that nobody makes a video about because it makes you sound like a monster. So let me be the monster. You're welcome. If you want to retire comfortably, at some point you are going to have to sacrifice being the person everyone calls when they need money. You know who I'm talking about. Maybe it's a brother with a business idea that changes every Thanksgiving. Maybe it's a buddy who treats your Venmo like a public utility. Maybe it's a parent, which makes it 10 times harder because now we're in feelings territory, and feelings don't show up on a spreadsheet, but they sure do drain it. Here's the brutal part. Most of this money is never coming back. You know it's not a loan, they know it's not a loan. It's a gift wearing a loan costume so nobody has to feel weird at the dinner table. And every gift like that is a tiny bite out of your future, served with a side of guilt. The sacrifice isn't the money. The sacrifice is being okay with being the bad guy sometimes. Learning to say, I love you and I can't. Full sentence. No paragraph of excuses afterwards because the excuses are just an invitation to negotiate. And look, generosity is great. Help people you love when you genuinely can. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. And you definitely can't pour from a cup you've handed to your cousin who just needs to get through this month for the 4th straight year. Secure your own oxygen mask first. That's not selfish. That's the safety briefing.
Sacrifice number 3. The need to outsmart the market. Okay, confession time. The single most expensive hobby I ever had wasn't golf. It wasn't even that brief, humiliating period where I bought a boat. It was thinking I could beat the market. There's a very specific kind of fun in picking a stock, watching it tick up and feeling like a genius. It's a slot machine that lets you keep your dignity. And to retire comfortably, you might have to sacrifice that thrill entirely. Because here's what they don't put on the finance hype channels. The boring index fund has historically beaten most professional money managers over long periods of time. People who do this for a living in suits with Bloomberg terminals. They might be losing to the fund that requires you to do nothing. So what chance does Greg from accounting have, day trading on his lunch break off a tip he heard in a podcast? Greg's getting smoked. Don't be Greg. The sacrifice is your ego again. You're noticing a theme, and the theme is that your ego is expensive. Because you have to admit that boring and consistent will out-earn exciting and clever almost every time. You have to give up the dopamine of the big win and the war story you'd tell about it in exchange for slow, dependable, deeply boring growth. Investing should be about as thrilling as watching paint dry. If your portfolio is giving you an adrenaline rush, that's not a portfolio. That's a casino with extra steps. Make it boring. Boring is how you get rich without checking your phone in the bathroom at 2 a.m. And remember, I'm not your financial advisor, and nothing here is personalized advice. Past performance doesn't promise future results, even for the boring stuff. Do your own homework or talk to a real pro before you move a single dollar. Sacrifice number 4, keeping pace with your friend group. Your friends are wonderful people who are also, financially speaking, trying to take you down with them, and they don't even know they're doing it. Here's how the trap works. Your buddy gets a new truck. Now your truck looks sad in the driveway. Someone in the group books a trip to Tulum, and suddenly not going feels like you're being voted off the island. Somebody's kid is in 3 travel sports leagues, so now your kid has to be too, or you're a bad parent. Nobody ever said any of this out loud. It just seeps in. Lifestyle inflation by peer pressure. The thing is, you almost never see the back end of your friend's finances. You see the truck. You don't see the loan on the truck. You see the Tulum photos. You don't see the credit card statement that's quietly sobbing in a drawer. Comparison is rigged because everyone's showing you their highlight reel and hiding the receipts. The sacrifice is the willingness to be the one who sits a few rounds out, to say, we're going to skip this one and not feel like you've failed some social exam, to let your friends outspend you and be completely at peace with it because you know something they don't. You're winning a game they're not even playing. I'm not telling you to ditch your friends. Keep the friends, they're not the problem. I'm telling you to stop matching their spending dollar for dollar like it's a drinking game. You can love people and still not co-sign their financial decisions with your own wallet. Sacrifice number 5. Your evenings. Every other retire comfortably video is obsessed with one thing, cutting. Cut the coffee, cut the cable, cut. And cutting is fine, but it has a hard floor. You can only cut your expenses down to 0. You literally cannot spend negative dollars. That's not how dollars work. But your income, that has no ceiling, none. And almost nobody's willing to make the sacrifice it takes to raise it. Because that sacrifice is the one thing you can never get back, your time right now. I'm talking about giving up some of your evenings and weekends for a season, not forever, to build something that pays you more. Learn the skill that bumps you into a higher bracket at work. Start the boring little side thing. Get the certification you've been thinking about for 3 years. Pick up the freelance gig. Ask for the raise and actually prepare for the conversation instead of just hoping your boss develops telepathy. Because here's the math that the coffee shaming crowd doesn't want you to do. You can spend a year clipping coupons to save a few $100, or you can spend that same year making yourself worth 10 or 20 grand more a year, every year for the rest of your career. One of those compounds. The other is you arguing with a self-checkout machine over a digital coupon.
The sacrifice is real, and it's heavy, because the couch is right there. The show is good. You're tired. Nobody's going to applaud you for spending Saturday learning spreadsheets instead of watching other people live their lives on a screen. But raising your income is the single most powerful lever you have, and most people refuse to pull it because pulling it is uncomfortable, and Netflix is not. Trade some comfort now for a whole lot of comfort later. That's the entire game in one sentence. Sacrifice number 6, the extra bedrooms you'll never use. Let's talk about the biggest line item in almost everyone's budget, the one that quietly eats more of your future than every latte you'll ever drink combined, your house. Specifically, the size of it. Somewhere along the way, we all got convinced that the dream is more house, more bedrooms, the bonus room, the formal dining room you use exactly twice a year, where the rest of the time it functions as a very expensive place to store an exercise bike that now holds laundry. We bought square footage like it was a personality. And every one of those extra square feet costs you. Not just the mortgage, the property taxes scale with it, the insurance scales with it, the heating and cooling of rooms where literally nothing happens, the furniture to make the empty room look less like a sad echo chamber. You're not just buying space, you're signing up for a lifetime subscription to maintaining space you don't use. The sacrifice is letting go of the idea that a bigger house means you've made it. For a lot of people, right-sizing their home, getting the place that actually fits their life instead of the place that fits their fantasy, is the single biggest financial decision they'll ever make. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. That's not a tweak, that's the whole game. I'm not saying live in a shoebox and call it minimalism for the internet. I'm saying buy the house you'll actually live in, not the house you'll occasionally tour like a museum guide when relatives visit. The guest room that hosts guests 4 nights a year is the most expensive hotel room in America, and you're the only customer. Sacrifice number 7, living below your means, for real, not for Instagram. I know. Live below your means is the most recycled phrase in personal finance. You've heard it 1,000 times, but everybody quotes it and almost nobody understands what's actually being sacrificed. So stick with me, because the real version of this is way more brutal than the poster makes it sound. Living below your means doesn't mean spending less than you make for one heroic month. Anybody can white-knuckle a budget for 30 days. The real sacrifice is keeping your lifestyle frozen while your income climbs. You get the raise and you don't touch it. You get the bonus and it disappears into the future instead of into a new patio set. Every time your paycheck goes up, your lifestyle is supposed to just stand there, politely, not moving. And that is agonizing because the entire economy is engineered to make you upgrade the second you can afford it. You got a raise, so now the algorithm thinks you've earned the nicer car, the bigger TV, the watch that tells the same time as your phone but costs $4,000. That's not living, that's lifestyle creep wearing a "you deserve this" t-shirt. The deeper sacrifice, and this is the part nobody admits, is being richer than you look. You have to be okay with people assuming you're doing just fine while you're quietly stacking a gap between what you earn and what you spend, because that gap is your retirement. That's the whole thing. Not the stock you picked, not the side hustle, the gap. So you drive the paid-off car while your coworker leases the shiny one. You stay in the same decent apartment while your income doubles. You let people underestimate your bank account on purpose. Wealth isn't the stuff you show, it's the stuff you didn't buy. Make peace with looking ordinary. That's where the comfort actually comes from. If you look closely, almost every single one of these has the same enemy. It's not money, it's discomfort. It's your ego, your guilt, your fear of looking like the cheap one at the table. Comfortable retirement is built by people who got comfortable being a little uncomfortable now. And that, ironically, is the actual secret nobody puts in a thumbnail because be okay with feeling weird sometimes doesn't get the likes. You don't have to do all 7 at once. Pick one. The one that made you a little defensive while I was talking about it. Yeah, that one. That's probably the one costing you the most. Start there. If this was helpful, do the thing. Subscribe for more practical retirement money insights that actually apply to real life. And drop me a comment. Which one of these hit a nerve, and which one did I miss? Be honest, we're all friends here, and unlike your actual friends, I'm not trying to talk you into a trip to Tulum. I'll catch you in the next one.